Friday Sports Bar with Dom Aldworth.
Welcome back to the show. Round 14 of MotoGP comes to you from Aragon this weekend in Spain. Casey Stoner is the championship leader, sitting on 259 points. He is last year's winner of the race itself. He's so far got himself 7 race wins this season, 10 consecutive podiums. Let's just have a quick look at his stats. 96 races in all, 30 wins, 55 podiums, a top quality performer, 2007 world champion on a Ducati. Casey took the opportunity on race week to talk to me yesterday on the Friday Night Sports Bar and Talk Radio Europe about his career. Have a listen to what Casey had to say. Round 14 of the MotoGP Championship comes from Aragon in Spain this weekend. Current championship leader, Repsol Honda's Casey Stoner joins us on Talk Radio Europe. Casey, very welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Casey, fantastic season for you so far. 10 consecutive podiums, 7 race wins to your name. You must be pretty happy with the season thus far up to round 14.
No, it definitely makes us think that we've definitely made the right choice to Honda. You know, we've had a fantastic season, a little rocky at the start, but you know, since then we've made a very good, solid, consistent season. So we can't really complain at this moment. You know, we've had almost a dream season. A couple of results we would have liked better, but you know, you're always striving to be better than what you got.
Casey, I'd always like to give my listeners a little background into the athletes that I have the opportunity to interview. Your background, obviously coming from a country like Australia, sports mad, you probably were exposed to many sports, but how did your career go towards motorsport?
Basically, that's all I grew up around. You know, since I was very young, my sister used to race. She's 6 years older than me. So when I was born, you know, she was racing a little. You know, my dad was around go-karts, motorsport, and motorbikes. So I just pretty much grew up around a motorsport-oriented family, and you know, from there it was just you know, once I got my first ride on my bike, then that was it. You know, I was hooked, and there was no stopping.
And Casey, your folks made a huge sacrifice. I mean, they moved the whole family from Australia to England so you can pursue your dream.
Yeah, basically, you know, we were struggling in Australia to move forward anywhere. You know, my parents obviously thought I was good enough to go further than what Australia was taking us, and we had a couple of people trying to hold us back in Australia, and you know, my family said, well, we're not going to be a sheep and follow, you know, we're going to do things our own way. And so they you know, they shipped us off overseas and started our career from there. And you know, considering 2 years later we're in Grand Prix, you know, I think they definitely made the right choice.
Well, absolutely right, the right choice. I mean, 07 was certainly the pinnacle of your career to date. Your first world championship, 10 race wins in 2007. That must have been a real moment for you, Casey, 2007.
Yeah, 2007 was unbelievable, just for the fact that, you know, we didn't expect it. You know, we were hoping for a couple of podiums when we started the season with Ducati, and we knew it was going to be a tough season, but, you know, we just wanted to sort of prove ourselves, because we'd never been given an opportunity on a factory bike before, so we really needed to do well that season. And to come out, win it, 10 race wins, was just unbelievable. So, you know, a big thanks to Ducati for that opportunity, and, you know, pretty much started us off. You know, it's almost like my career started right at that point.
And a lot of pressure, obviously, in 2008, defending champion. You fell just short, but you still scored a massive 280 points. 2008 for you, was that a success or a failure in your mind?
For me, a success, because you know, I think it's been shown this year that, you know, Ducati isn't always the easiest bike to set up. And 2008 was a difficult start to the season. We definitely didn't have the bike right. You know, it wasn't really working to our liking, and it took us a long time to get going. And you know, a lot of people had counted us out, and you know, there were some of the younger riders that had come up into the MotoGP category doing very well. Basically talking down to me, you know, and I was the previous world champion, but we ended up being the ones to come through and challenge Valentino for that championship. And yeah, we came up short, but we gave it one hell of a fight. You know, that year was also plagued with injuries, so we've had a tough time of it the last few years, but you know, we've never stopped fighting and never gave up.
Casey, let's talk a little bit about this season. An unbelievable season for you. I've watched every single race. You're on a Honda. You've got 7 race wins so far this season. Just a couple of questions. A couple of weeks ago, the last race, 2 or 3 weeks ago at Indy, that was your US double. You obviously won in California earlier in the season. I mean, you absolutely ripped the circuit apart, the Brickyard, but you weren't entirely comfortable there. What was the underlying problem there for you?
Basically, I mean, the big crowd has history there, but I'm pretty sure it's not the history that everyone's looking for, because the history there is on the oval, not on the infield track that they've sort of created. And the track isn't good. It hasn't got any nice features to it. There's no rolling, sort of feeling to that circuit. It's just very stop-start. The fact that the circuit was meant to be run around the other way, it was actually built to be run the other way, where the Formula One drivers go. But that was too dangerous for MotoGP, so they ran it the opposite direction. And, when you go around tracks in the opposite direction, sometimes they just don't flow, and they're not meant to be. We've got 2 first-gear corners that we have to use a very low gearing for, and it's still not low enough. For me, it's just a put-together circuit for us. It's not really a racetrack, and I don't enjoy it, so I'm not going to fluff it up and make it sound a lot better than it is. I'd much recommend going to Laguna Seca or another track that rolls and flows rather than that circuit.
Sure. And a big question here, Casey. I mean, I know earlier in the year, both yourself and some of the other drivers as well, Jorge Lorenzo being one, of course with Japan, which was postponed because of the terrible earthquake and situation there, you guys had major concerns, understandably so as well. What is your latest take on that? Do you think you'll be taking part in the Japanese race? Have you made any final decisions on that yet?
No, I haven't made any final decisions on that yet, but after discussing it a long time with my wife and finding out as much information from as many different countries and sources as we could, it definitely looks a lot more probable. There's been some a lot of rumours and that floating around, and basically when the pressure was first put on us was quite a while ago now, when the situation still wasn't clear. So now the situation's cleared up a lot more. It's a lot easier to get some solid information and results, and it's looking a lot more likely that I'm going, but still haven't made my 100% decision yet.
Casey, this weekend, Aragon, round 14. This is a track that definitely suits you. You won there last year. Is this one of your favourite circuits on the MotoGP calendar?
Definitely not one of my favourite circuits. Again, it rolls and flows with the hills fairly well, but it's a little bit tight, twisty. I really like the circuits that are a lot more wide open, fast, Phillip Island, Magello. This circuit's got a couple of good points to it, but nothing more than that. So, it's a long way out here. It's a long way for everybody to come and watch the race. It was a Grand Prix that was just sort of put in here to fill in for another Grand Prix that wasn't on last year, and all of a sudden it was added to the calendar. But, there's a few riders that like it. Myself, I think it's, there's a lot better circuits out there again, but it's definitely, it's no Indianapolis, it's still fun to ride.
Casey, Repsol Honda, your team, you've got teammate Dani Pedrosa. A bit of bad luck for him so far this season. Very, very popular figure here in Spain. A top-class driver as well. Tell us about your working relationship with Dani.
I've raced against Dani for a few years now, but, Dani for me is always one that's very easy to respect. You can see why he's fast, where he's fast. He does some things that no other riders can do, especially when he's on form. And, he has had some bad luck over these last seasons. And, it's not right. This season looked all good, and then, the crash with Simoncelli. So, it's okay when it's your own fault or something happens. But, last year he had a fault with the bike. This year he had another rider take him out. So, he definitely hasn't had the best of seasons. And to be honest, I'd like to see him, put a full season together and see what he can do.
And Casey Stoner, away from MotoGP, what do you like to do to relax, Casey, to keep your mind off things?
My favourite's fishing, for sure. I've got a lot of friends that I go fishing with, and I think it's a sport you can travel around the world doing. And, it's a good way to get your mind away from everything and relax doing something else. So I really enjoy that, doing it every bit of spare time I've got.
Casey, I know this is a race week. You've got plenty of media commitments. I'm very grateful that you've taken time out to speak to us here on Talk Radio Europe. My sincere best wishes, not only for this weekend, but for your quest to lift the championship again. I'm a big fan of yours, Casey. I hope you go well this weekend and, of course, for the remainder of the season. And thanks to you and your team for allowing us this opportunity today.
Not a problem. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, that was Casey Stoner, 2007 MotoGP World Champion and current championship leader ahead of the big race this weekend, round 14 from Aragon. When we come